David.
I'll just sort Facebook out.
It's like I'm wearing my army shirt so I can go and do collections for the 77th Brigade. The poor little lads and lasses aren't going to be there anymore if we get independence, because we'll have nothing to do, and it's a shame.
Don't know about that. They might actually up it. Okay, that's it, public and Facebook, so we should start attracting the Facebook audience now as well. The numbers are normally quite good. Give them a couple of minutes to get on. They've got their notification on Facebook.
Yep.
But I see YouTube's piling in well. And
Yep.
Scott Bryan, we'll get Erwin there.
It was actually nice to see people actually sat in their seats. If you analogize it to being a theatre, people sat in their seats waiting for the show to start. And that's what I'd love to do. I'd love to be in that position. Can't do it because of the Facebook nonsense.
Still with the biggest audiences at the moment, David, so
yeah.
Until people move across to YouTube,
yeah,
there isn't really much we can do, but I'm just checking this went public. It has, and Stephen Kelly's the first one through the door.
Yeah, I'm seeing the people through Facebook coming through.
Well, I'm starting to see people from Facebook coming through now. Numbers are climbing nicely, getting a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
And then we'll get in about it. Not that there's much to get in about it. Because silly season's upon us. Now, David, how long has silly season been around?
Get my gun, Myrtle. It's silly season. Just some of the stuff that's in the news and the papers and all the rest of it just proves that it's silly season.
Yeah, but David, come on, we looked this up, we were serious about it. How long has the term silly season been around?
It's been around since 1861, according to Alexa.
And according to Alexa, silly season is the close season at the summer recess at Westminster.
Yes.
Obviously here in Scotland, because the recess started a wee bit earlier, then silly season started that wee bit earlier in Scotland.
Yep.
No.
And I went to Aldi's this morning and there was no tomatoes, none whatsoever. And there was one small box full of carrots. Come on, guys. Yeah. And
we'll get to that when we get to inflation, David.
And I went looking for yeast. They had a full display of all the different flours you can get, but no yeast. And I said to the guy, I says, what bloody use is that? Anyway, there you go.
Well, you can always make flatbreads, David. Come on.
I could do it with beer.
You know, you can always make flatbreads. Anyway, we're up to 100 marks, so let's get into it, because, I mean, for all we haven't got much to talk about, each subject's quite in depth. So it's the Two Davies 2007-2023. And remember, folks, it's by-election day, we'll get a wee bit to that later on. Now, the illegal migration bill passed and is off to big ears to get the head of the criminal cabal to give it its seal of approval. Right, this was on the very day, David, that the UN warned Westminster that passing this bill, thanks, David, that passing this bill would be a problem under international law.
Everybody is telling the United Kingdom government this is not on. You know, no. we know that in the future there's about, I heard the number the other day there, somebody said there's 127 million refugees in the world right now. People that have had to move from where they are and move out of their own country for various reasons, right? And that can only increase if you consider the climate change.
Aye, and that's what the UN has stated, that this is going to set a precedence, which would encourage other countries to take the same approach. We see the breakdown of the international law on the rights to claim asylum.
If you figure that every country in the world suddenly, all the big countries just went, nah, no way, we're not taking any refugees, it's not happening, right? Then what's that going to do? That's going to lock people into their own situations where they could get killed. You know what I mean?
I mean, the whole point about it is if the climate activists are correct, then we're looking at mass migration to the north.
No, in actual fact, we could be looking at all the big countries going, no, you're not doing it.
That's what I'm saying. That's why they're saying this law is a bad precedence.
Yeah,
right. But now, let's get into what this law actually does. And this is a big problem. And this is why this law doesn't work. Is because when Big Ears decides to put the mafia seal of approval on this, it makes the whole hi guys, sorry not been on for a while. John the van driving legend. Hi John, welcome back. Thanks very much. That's very generous of you. I imagine you have been busy. You've had your truck training. Unfortunately, Phil, just stick at it, mate. It's worth it. Stick at it, mate. It is worth it.
Right, Dave, carry on with that. It's important what you were saying about the law.
It puts a legal duty on the Home Office Minister now to detain these people. Right? And because they've entered by what they call illegal routes, which of course isn't true. They're here to seek asylum, and any way you can get somewhere to seek asylum is no illegal.
So what you're talking about is effectively they become prisoners of.
Correct. And now that brings us to the barge that's been brought in, certified for 250 people. We're going to put 500 in it. You know, that's going to cause a lot of friction with the people on it. It's not a suitable accommodation. It's a floating prison.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they hired 2 cruise ships to bring in to be able to house. I think it was 1,000 refugees between the 2 cruise ships. One was to be sent to Edinburgh, and the other one was to be sent to Liverpool. But the docks there are run by private companies. So when the Home Office ordered these ships, they forgot to ask the private companies if they could get docking space for these ships. And the private companies have turned around and tell the Home Office, bugger off, we don't have docking space for these ships. So these ships that have been rented by the UK government have been sent back to their owners, and you bet your boots their owners will want paid.
Yeah.
So what is this fiasco cost the public purse? Dylan, thank you very much, young man. It's nice to see you and your father back again. Thank you very much. I vote for Labour as I vote to starve your kids. We'll get to that. That's subject number 2 today. But I mean, the implications and the costs to the public purse of the illegal migration bill passing, and of course the damage to the UK's international reputation with this passing is pretty not good. It's not good.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you can see the UK suffering sanctions for this from the international community.
Well, you know, as I said back at the start of the programme, it's like if the UK do it and they get away with doing it, right? That means that you could have France, Germany, or any number of large countries just going, no, we're not taking refugees, end of. And it's like that then would be a horrendous situation for the people that need to get away from a bad situation in their own country. It could be as simple as in the Mediterranean getting away from the heat.
Aye.
You know, I mean,
that's what I mean about mass migration. If the Mediterranean right now is that hot, there's it's only hot, then the people in the Mediterranean, who are mainly Europeans, are going to have to move.
Yeah, that's right.
So that would be mass migration alone.
Because they're Europeans, they've got the right of free movement within Europe. I really don't know what would happen there, but I would imagine you would have some countries that have done it in the past, like Hungary, have just went, no, stop it, you're not coming through.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know what the backside of this one is, because
40,000 people a year coming across that channel, David, and that's likely to get bigger. If it's 40,000, where do we detain all these people?
To be honest with you, in terms of population, it's a stupid wee number. What they should do is just process them as quick as they possibly can. Forget having to hire blooming prison barges or whatever, right? Just get them processed and allow them to earn money.
Well, I don't address this one. The Two Davies, will you cover the EU recognised Argentina's claim to the Falklands on today's show? No, because the news is only broken today. We'll leave that until the next show, if that's all right, because we're sort of covering the period for the last show to this show. It's a current affairs chat show. This news story is broken the day where the Maldinas are being recognised as the Maldinas by Europe and a treaty of stuck with Argentina. But we'll cover that on Monday's show.
Hey, Maggie will be turning her in her grave, won't she? Eh?
Alan, you could be right. Passing this bill could actually amount to genocide because, of course, people will be blocked at borders if other countries take this up. And what will happen is they'll be attacked from behind.
What do they call it when people sort of protectionism? It's protectionism. It happens with goods, with exports and imports, right? And what happens is if a country thinks that it's been done badly to on trade deals, like UK now without the EU, right? Then what will happen is they'll shut the door to certain countries' products, and that becomes protectionism, and that helps nobody because at the end of it, it just means this country and that country and that country and that country, they're going to just close their doors to other people's products.
That might well explain the Public Bodies Act, Economic Act, where they're trying to dictate to public bodies who they can and can't buy things.
Yeah, aye.
We spoke about that only the other week there, you know. Yeah, it's all about keeping up with what's going through that house of thieves and carpetbaggers in that road, David. Anyway, this bill is passed. Even though on the day it was passed, there was a warning for the international community. So there could well be sanctions. Something that the press isn't talking about. Thanks, Alistair. Something that the press is not talking about here is when you break international law, in order to make sure that nobody else breaks international law, there is generally sanctions for the international community.
There might not be sanctions, and that would be worse.
And that would be worse, yes. That would be worse. If the international community don't react, then it would set a precedent which would be a disaster for humanity.
Because, you've got to look at it from the point of view of all these other countries are facing the same problems as everybody else. They're looking at the climate change, which nobody's doing, no big country is doing a bloody thing about. So they know fine well there's going to be massive numbers of refugees, women trying to get away from their bad situation to northern climes, right? And they'll be in the same situation. They'll be going, we're wondering how the UK are getting on, how they're going to get away with it. And if they do get away with it, well, all right, fine. Well, that opens the door for us to do it as well.
Aye. You see, it really sets a bad precedent.
There's one planet, guys. One planet. We've all got to live on it. We've all got a right to live on it. But we need for the big corporates and all the rest of it to be brought up, stop what they're doing. Because when you're talking about oil and gas giants, well, Shell and BP, I think it was Shell that have said, stuff the climate change, we're just going to carry on doing what we're doing. How's with that, guys? They're going to kill your Waynes and your great-grandkids.
Well, otherwise they're going to set them a war against the other side of the planet who's trying to flee into safe havens. Well, I think we've done that one to death now, so let's move on. We've talked about the implications of it. Sir Kid Starver is trending, David. Now,
wonderful name that they've given him, Sir Kid Starver.
Now, this is only coming in two parts, folks, because when we get to the SNP's reaction, that'll be covered after we deal with Rishi Sunak and his carry on in the Commons yesterday, and the pantomime that was Prime Minister's. But part of that was the subject we're talking about now, and that is Starmer and his shadow ministers hitting the press to say that they won't reverse the two-child cap.
Yeah.
Right. Now, we'll get to now, this has sparked a real civil war in the Labour Party. there are real ramifications for this one in the Labour Party. But he sent out his ministers to say there's no money left. And of course, the first one to trounce all that was Richard Murphy. You know, who goes on to explain there's no such thing as no money left.
We've known this for years. Any country that has got a central bank can't go bust. Cannot possibly go bust, because you literally press a button on the computer keyboard, and that gives you however much money you need.
But you've got to remember what basically the basic functions of money is. Money is a value. Money is a measure. It measures the value of things, a bit like distances in kilometres, metres, inches, whatever you want to call it. It measures something.
Yeah.
So what money does is it puts a value on everything, and it measures how you're doing, how much you've got in reserve, how much you're printing, that sort of thing. But it's no more than a measure, and you can never run out of a measure. If a measure's not working, you can adopt it, you can change it, CBDCs, but it's just a measure. And as you pointed out, this idea that Labour are saying we can't stop the two-child cap because it's a financial problem that we don't have, we're not bringing in enough taxes to cover the cost, then you can always tax the rich, which is an option Starmer hasn't picked on. Now, what Professor Murphy points out is the only way you could get into a real big problem is if you run out of people to tax in order to claim back the money you've printed. And what he rightly points out is that the burden of tax right now is sitting on the shoulders of the least.
Yeah.
And what he said was, if Starmer just actually stuck to his word and brought in that 5% tax rise on the rich, he could draw in an extra 170 million a year, provided it goes right across everything, earned income included unearned income. You know, that tax right across everything, include unearned incomes like dividends and bonds and property and all that sort of crap.
Far easier, and the whole thing is remove all the tax loopholes for the corporations in the United Kingdom for moving their profits to, like the British Virgin Islands or Panama or wherever, right? You stop them having to pay so much in the way of tax.
I like ginger ale in America. That's the right reaction. Tax the rich, blasphemy.
You have to understand, it's like there is a slight difference between a socialist and a communist, right? I'm going to give you a task. I want you to get in touch with us on the channel and explain to us what the difference between a communist and a socialist is. There you go. That's your quest. Anyway.
Yeah. But so anyway, apparently there's no money, folks. So Sir Kid Starver is going to keep starving kids. Now, in order to try and, I mean, the sushi that's caused up here in Scotland is absolutely mental because of Scottish Labour's view on this. And remember, Labour yesterday had their policy forum, and apparently the Scottish Labour MPs and the Welsh Labour MPs were told to sit down and shut up because Starmer put a directive out on Wednesday saying that there will be no policy divergence in Scotland or Wales. It's London's way or no way whatsoever in the devolved administrations, which is mental, absolutely mental.
It upsets me.
The whole point of devolution was to allow the different parts of the United Kingdom, because it isn't, remember folks, it isn't a country, it is a union. The idea was to allow the local government to be able to grow the economy and maximise the best of what the local people do to benefit everybody. That was the rationale behind it. Now Starmer has went full tonto dictatorship in the Labour Party and has dealt Scottish and Welsh Labour that there can be no divergence. Talk about dictatorship.
David, it does upset me that Labour politicians that have been in their position for a long time are as thick as pig shit when it comes to stuff like this. I even remember a programme. Remember Andrew Neil that used to go out on a late night and he had different politicians from Labour or Tory or whatever sat on the seat in front of him and asked them questions and all the rest of it.
It's sort of hard talk format, aye.
Yeah.
I mean, John Redwood used to do, I know John Redwood the politician, John Redwood the journalist, used to do hard talk in the middle of the night when we first had 24-hour TV.
What he did was, Andrew Neil done was, he asked both the Tory and the Labour politician about giving free money to people. And the Labour politician went, no, you can't do that. And the Tory politician said, well, we gave them a £300 payout to the pensioners at Christmas. And the Labour politician went, oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. And it's, this is the thing. It's like these politicians, we endow them with like superhuman qualities. They're as thick as pig shit.
There's more to it than that, David. When you get right down to it, Labour, when they started entering the House of Lords back in the 1900s, became sucked into the establishment and became the second cheek of the same arse. Yeah. They're not actually political parties, and what we see doing that road is pantomime, and it's always in the interest of. And Starmer's been the most blatant so far. Blair was blatant, but Starmer's even more blatant. It's in the interest of the established men.
Yeah.
And that establishment starts with the Crown, the top of the criminal cabal.
Well, let's get rid of that first then.
But anyway, let's move on to Sunak and his disgusting behaviour when Starmer asked him about increasing waiting lists in the NHS. Now, Sunak then tells Starmer, it's due to industrial action in the NHS. There's industrial action in the NHS because the Tory party have underpaid these people for 13 bloody years.
Yes.
They don't see the irony of it. Blaming the doctors for a crisis they fucking committed. Or they created, sorry. Unbelievable.
It's a disgusting situation, and you're not going to see any movement on this until eventually we've gone through a general election. And I'm kind of hoping, as someone that wants independence, and David does too, want independence, that the general election allows us to get away from this clusterfuck.
Madness. And that way the people in England can have a good look inside themselves and say, what the fuck are we doing here?
I'll tell you how I want to look at Westminster. From behind the north side of a 17-foot high border fence, laughing my face off at the mess they've got themselves into.
You're a wee bit more extreme on these things, David. I tend to put a wee bit more on the social contract. But it would surprises me because you and I have worked in both these worlds and we're acting in both these worlds.
If the people of England want a good social contract, they have to ask for it first.
Yes. And that's the difference between up here and down that road is we have a better social contract with our government. That's why our council tax is cheaper, but our services are better.
But we never asked for it.
That's why we have a fair income tax situation.
We never asked for it. It was actually put on our laps by good people in the SNP that worked for it.
Yes, we didn't. We didn't know we could ask for it.
Yeah, and
Devolution enlightened us to the point that we could ask to do things differently.
Yes.
And the SNP, when they came to power, made it abundant. They keep talking about not using the powers of that parliament. They made it abundantly clear we could make different choices. And having a different taxation system meant that we could have fairer tax bands. We could have lower council tax and lower bands. It also meant that we could have things like the baby box, no prescription charges, no university fees, tuition fees. That's political choices. That's a social contract. But what you seen Sunak Day yesterday was one of the most disgusting things I've seen in politics in my life. And that was to kick people in England for asking for a decent social contract. He kicked the doctors, he kicked the nurses, he kicked the people that they were hailing as heroes only a couple of years earlier, as people were dying in their droves of what they called the global pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
But what these people in the public services are asking for, basically, is a better deal, a better social contract. And as you pointed out, David, the SNP have been working on plan after plan after plan to improve the social contract here. No bridge tolls, free bus travel for 12 to 23-year-old, free bus travel at 16, 66, the baby box, the £25 a week uplift in child per child to lift children out of poverty, all that sort of thing. I mean, Starmer in this, Sir Kid Starmer, it's trending. It deserves it. What did our government do in response to this? Humans are used to saying, why don't you just follow Scotland's politics? Drop the two kid limit and introduce an extra 25 quid per kid per week to lift them out of poverty.
Yeah.
But no. Because they two are one, I mean, Sunak and Starmer, two cheeks of the one arse. Labour was integrated into the establishment when they started taking their seats in the Lords. Simple as that. They stopped being the voice of the people.
Can we answer Dylan King's thing? Third down. Can I ask you guys, if Sunak loses 3 by-elections, will there be an general election?
Can we get to that? We're going to get to that, Dylan. I promise you we will. So keep tuned in. That's one of the subjects we're going to talk about. Anyway, I think we've done Sunak and discussing performance at PMQs yesterday. Let's move on to the SNP and Muggate.
Well, in actual fact, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hand the programme over to you and you alone, because you've got such a good story to tell. You picked up on literally everything that went on. So go for it.
Right, anyway.
Oh dear. Me and my big gum. Oh, yeah.
In fact, sorry. Funny enough, I'm going to have a go and my signal drops off. Isn't that funny? Right, anyway, yes, SNP.
77th Brigade. 77th.
Looks like it. Anyway, yesterday, PMQs. Of course, Stephen Flynn has a pop at both the Tories and Labour. But what people didn't get is, in the background, there was something called Muggate going on. Right? And what happened was, before PMQs yesterday, the SNP went out to the press pack and gave them all mugs. And a bit of parliamentary headed paper. And a wee snippet on that paper, right? So what it said on the mugs was, what's the point of Labour and state control of population? Basically. I'll put it up, Paula. I'll let you see the mugs. Hang on. Hey. Here we go. SNP mug stunt labelled crass political jibe steeped in xenophobia. You can read it your bloody selves, and misogyny. Anyway, so let's get back to this in the mugs. Right, I'll show you the mug. I'll show you the mug in question. There's one of them. Controls of family sizes. What's the point of Labour? And controls of family sizes in the red mug. What's the point of Labour? But it was this wee note here that started the stooshy. And then what this wee note says is, Labour, a party, has a new range of mugs in production. They're made in China, just like Sir Keir Starmer's latest policy. Right, so I'll take that down now. Now, basically, this goes back to population control. And that's what I was talking about in the Starmer bit about population control, state population control. All right, now, so anyway, Prime Minister's questions yesterday, but this time everybody knew what the SNP had done by giving this stuff to the press pack, trying to get it out into the public's mind that this 2-child cap that wasn't just it was limiting the size of families that people were having. And in a failing population, that's not a great idea. Now, as we know, in 1980, China introduced the one-child rule, and that led to things like infanticide, where mainly female children were being murdered, basically, and buried. The pregnancies were being hidden and limiting population. As a result of that particular policy, by the way, China today has 30 more million men than what it has women. I know it's got a big population, so 30 million doesn't sound much. But, so...
David, just before you go on, yet again, in that situation, the onus was put on the woman, because what they were doing was they were offering women a transistor radio, medium wave radio, if they got their womb removed. Something like that.
Right? Also led to 336 million abortions. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
So anyway, the Stussy actually spills out into Prime Minister's questions when a Miss Owens of Luton North stands up and calls a point of order. Absolutely hilarious. Point of order. And the point of order was, this is misogynist, this is anti-China, which is xenophobia. That's what it means, fear of China. It's racist. And Madam Deputy Speaker, which is Dame Lang, is this an improper use of parliamentary stationery? Which leads to a further point of order by
Martin Doherty.
Martin Doherty Hughes, who is your MP, David, Western Bartonshire. Right. And he gets up and calls a point of order and he says, I've got 2 points to make here. Is Labour more rattled with a wee breach of parliamentary rules, or is it more rattled by child poverty? And then he goes on, because Miss Owens had used quotes for certain things down through the years, right? And he goes on to quote, he says, talking about quotes, here's a quote for you. Speaking of quotes, and this is his words, I looked up at Hansel, right? I believe in 2018 the following was said, the cap reminds me of communist China's morally abhorrent one-child policy. Now even the Chinese have scrapped that. Perhaps the Tories can bring themselves to follow China's example. Who said that? The deputy leader of Scottish Labour Party, Jackie Baillie, in 2018. Da-da-da-dum, boom! Yeah. Funny as hell. Absolutely funny as hell. That's how you do it. But what the SNP have pointed out was what Labour and Tory have been hiding. This two-child cap is a way of trying to limit the population, the indigenous population. And while we're not having as many children as we could be having, we're having to bring in more and more people from outside to make up the shortfall, as we have a failing demographic. So, the SNP are getting lampooned down that road for pointing out the obvious, that the benefit cap is actually inhibiting the population. It's having a detrimental effect on our economy, and it means we're more reliant on young people moving here from elsewhere. You know, which brings us back to the illegal migration bill and the stupidness of that process is people get them out into the workforce. They want to contribute. They actually come with a positive attitude of want to contribute. But anyway, that was Prime Minister's questions. The big scandal was SNP Muggate, because they gave the press pack mugs asking them, what is this population control and what do Labour stand for? But Miss Owens was told by the Deputy Speaker, right, you get this, Dame Lang, she tells Miss Owens, write to the Speaker of the House if you think there's been inappropriate use of parliamentary stationery.
They're not given any targets as far as this is concerned. I mean, I wrote to Philippa Whitford, right, when she was getting a bad time off the he was one of the Labour MPs. He's gone now, right? But she wrote me back a letter, and I got a nice House of Commons envelope and the letterhead and all the rest of it. So I don't know what this lass is on about misuse of the thing. If they want to make a
because the parliamentary station, you've got wee bits of thin paper that's called notes, right? You get your full-size A4 sheet, but this wee thin bit's called notes. Because they put on the notes that Labour had the new range of mugs made in China, just like Sir Keir Starmer's latest policy, that is what this Labour MP deemed to be misuse of a parliamentary.
The thing is, though, how many did they get made? Was it tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands?
No, it was just for the usual press pack, so maybe a couple of hundred.
That's right. So it wasn't exactly a big issue, was it?
No, but it was a stunt to try and get the press to point out that this is actually population control and it's bad for us. You know. But so that was brilliant. I thought the SNP played a blinder yesterday, and all the fanpots in the Westminster bubble were up in arms about it. And well, I've been rolling about laughing about it. You know, it's a really funny read. You know, and apparently now we're not just anti-English folks, we're also anti-Chinese, which is going to upset the guy down the road where I go, because he runs a cracking restaurant, and it's not a racial thing. We're friends, and I use the restaurant because his food is good.
Yeah.
But he's going to start to look at me as if to say, you anti me. You know?
You're the gun waiting. You're not coming in.
No, you're not coming in. Do you're a job? We're only serving the English here now. Wow. I mean, the place is just a pantomime. As I say, it's a pantomime played out for the plebs. Because when we see Labour and Tory now, we can clearly see that it's two cheeks of the same arse. There is no red and blue water. There is only a pink arse called the state. What can you say to that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well,
anyway, we're going to move on to senior Tory advisor tells Sunak to go early.
Yes. We both of us sort of agreed that May of 2024 would seem like the sensible time. But you pointed out there was a chap that was an advisor to John Major.
Yes.
And he kept saying to John Major, go early. And John Major didn't.
No, what Lord, get this by the way, Lord Finkelstein. Lord Finkelstein, who used to advise John Major, advised John Major to go late. And do what he's advising.
We did.
He didn't, and that led to Tony Blair's 1997 landslide, right? Now, what he's saying to Sunak this time is, go early and you'll not lose as many seats.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, what we both discussed was the parallel between Sunak and Gordon Brown.
Aye.
Both men inherited the post that they sat in, right? And they were both basically under pressure to run a general election. And Gordon Brown wouldn't go early. He waited until time was up.
Yeah, as we know, Paul at the time said if he went early, they won.
Yeah.
Whereas he waited the full 2 years, went to the polls after making an arse of himself for 2 years and lost.
That's right. Yeah.
But that had a lot to do with the mainstream media and things like that. That's how it works here. The establishment has its fingers in every pie. You know? And the Bartley brothers are no lords for nothing.
Yeah, but they're having a hard time at the moment.
That doesn't matter. They'll be fine. Same with Lord Rothermere. They'll all be fine.
Yeah.
You know, they set the bloody agenda, and Brown was always going to be brought down. You can't have a job Prime Minister.
Yeah, this is the thing. We're very, very quick to call people fools or stupid or whatever, right? the people I would call fools are the ones that listen to these people.
Yeah? Aye, we know Starmuck was at the Murdoch's Garden Party, so was everybody. Murdoch's really running the place with his media empire, you know.
Yeah. And Murdoch, by the way,
but to go back to Lord Finkelstein, his advice to Sunak is go in the traditional May election, and you won't lose as many. Now, that brings us on to the day's by-elections. Now, of course, the polls only opened this morning, so we won't be able to say very much about how they turned out. But what the pollsters are saying is, if they can't take some of these safe Tory seats, like Uxbridge, where the Tories have a 27,000 majority, you know, if they can't take that sort of seat, then we're heading towards a hung parliament.
Yeah.
And gone early might preserve many of these seats, is what Lord Finkelstein is saying.
Yeah.
You know, so it's interesting, but I think we're probably going to be May next year then. You know,
May the 9th. You heard it here, guys. May the 9th is our prediction for the
that is our prediction. Aye, whether we get it right or not is a different matter. But May the 9th, because elections are traditionally held on a Thursday.
That presents us with a problem, right? And the problem is that many of us want to turn the general election into a plebiscite or a de facto election, because general election is easy to do because we don't have to breach the 50%. Where we keep saying this, the Tories got in, or Boris got in with 41% of the vote, and they ended up with that huge number of MPs supporting everything he did, right? So all we require is more than 30 more than 30 MPs.
37, 30 or there. 30 or there.
Yeah. 30 SNP MPs, specifically SNP MPs. See if they're any other colour, if they're any other blooming badge on them whatsoever, right? They're not going to be counted internationally. The international community are going to count the number of seats that the SNP have won.
Yes.
And that's what they'll decide whether they wish to recognise Scotland as an independent country.
That is the measure they will make. Oh, David, yes, correct.
We could have a situation, a hypothetical situation, where Alba win every single one, and the international community will go, who the fuck are they?
Which brought us to an earlier comment, actually. Steve Bankier had been out asking his local community if they knew who the Alba party were. And it appears only us in the independence bubble get any idea who they are.
We know them because we're taking stick off them all the time.
No, I never mind that sort of stuff. I've seen that myself. It's a bit like the ISP, the Independent Scotland Party, or the Independent Socialist Party, or any of the independent parties. You only know about one, unless you're in this bubble.
Yeah.
And let's be fair to each other, it is a bubble.
Yeah.
I mean, the majority of our audience will be pro-independent supporters.
You know, you've got to look at this fair and square, guys. How come the international community know about Scotland and independence so much? Is it Alex Salmond? No, he went and blooming disappeared straight after, right? Okay.
He's not a public anymore. He's not a public official anymore. He's very little.
It has been the international effort of Nicola Sturgeon. She's gone now. But
she's still a public servant, so her influence is still there, David.
Right. So we need for this to be a plebiscite, a general election. Now, if it's going ahead in May of next year, that says we're down to 10 months to go. That's getting tight. I don't know.
Well, it's not hard to write a manifesto, is it? You're writing a one-line manifesto, but it is getting close. And as I say, Sunak's been advised to go early. Now, the by-elections, how they turn out.
Can I just add one point? See if we're going to wait until October of this year before eventually the SNP high Hegians get their asses in gear and go, yeah, basically that's what we're going to do. It's too late, guys.
No, it's not.
When it gets over,
manifesto, it's not too late, David.
David, it's not about that. It's about getting in the blooming minds of the rest of the people and the work you've got to do to get that working.
Well, that's where the silly season for us becomes a problem, because you're not getting to hear from SNP MSPs at all. We're hearing from Labour and Tory about how bad the SNP administration is, but we're not hearing from the administration itself.
I'm hearing from good politicians like Angus Brown and McNeil that is saying, come on, guys, what are you doing, right? And I'm getting blooming idiots like Michael What's-His-Face trying to give Angus Brown McNeil a blooming dressing down because he dared to mention the P word, plebiscite.
Well,
come on. What are we doing here? Who are we listening to? Hamza, where the fuck are you?
Thanks, Stephen. Right? Thanks very much.
Thanks, David.
But no, David, there is clearly a bit of fraction in the party of this, but you and I are also taking a side in this one. We're trying to be a more reasonable group because we're talking to the public.
I'm not reasonable.
That's for sure. You have work sometimes. Right, anyway, I suppose, so keeping it on track, that was the importance of the by-elections today. And the by-elections coming up. I think there's 6 or 7 of them coming up. How they fall will either decide whether this is going to be an early general election or whether Sunak's going to try and hold on.
I just figure Sunak is going to be frightened. No matter what happens, he's going to be shivering. And he's going, oh, I can't do it, something like that.
There you go. The people in France, Ali says, Ali Watson, who lives in France, of course, the chef, who said he's been talking to the people in France and they've never heard of the Alba Party either.
Yeah.
They're not breaking through into public consciousness, and outside their own wee bubble, nobody's heard of them, which is a sad thing, because, as I keep saying, the more voices in our democracy, the better.
But they're high agents, like McCaskill. He comes out of the stupidest stuff, right? He was even complaining to the Crown Office of why they haven't locked him up for the SNP yet.
There's a wee rumour that they're going to move the goalpost in that one and try and call it embezzlement, because embezzlement is to raise money and use it under false pretences, whereas what they're looking at the moment is misuse of party funds. Which there isn't any misuse of party funds, so they're trying to import anti-embezzlement, which is, of course, a lot of rubbish. It would never wash, because when the SNP were raising the money, they didn't know that the Supreme Court was going to rule that a referendum was out of order. So, there's all sorts of stupidness going on up here at the moment. But it is the silly season. I'll give you an example of how silly the silly season is. John Robertson, ex-professor, the guy that does the critique and talking up Scotland and debunking almost everything that comes out of the BBC, he's been banned for Reddit.
He was, if you remember, when initially he became to fame, he was. The BBC were trying to bounce him out of the university where he worked.
And they didn't win that one either.
University of the West of Scotland, Paisley, and that was it. And he got put in front of an inquiry to the Holyrood, and there was 2 guys for the BBC there and John Robertson, and it was ridiculous. They were trying to lose the man his job.
Yes, but it was also funny watching them run the rings around them. I enjoyed that day. It was a great committee meeting. And class action says it'll be dead and buried by the time the Alpha Party won an election. And that's no something to be, it's just a statement of fact.
Yeah, that's a truism. That's a truism.
I mean, look at it. It took the SNP for the 30s to devolution to break into the public consciousness.
Tam, this is SITV, Tam, your pal. Tam, the second independence party that's required is after independence. And that then will provide the opposition to
what the Alpha Party tend not to recognise is the Greens are a party of independence and they're better established.
Yeah, that's right.
They are much better established. And if you're going to split your vote, then the Greens are more known than the Alpha Party as being a pro-independence party. So, I mean, it's all nonsense, this stuff. But, as I say, John Robertson's been booted off Reddit because he was ripping the piss out of BBC bias here in Scotland. He'd put up a BBC page and he'd rewritten a headline, you know, to reflect the truth of what the article was actually saying, rather than what we all know we get is a false-looking headline. But if you take the time to get into the article, you realise that the truth is in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely not what you see in the headline. Like the one we had last week with SNP to raise council tax by 25%, where it was actually Cosler who had been asking the government to allow them to do that in the higher grade homes.
Yeah. And your Tory and Labour councillors are they've got a wee smirk on their face, knowing fine well that it was Cosler, but they can actually work hard to make it look like it was the SNP Green government that's caused it.
Yep. Now, lastly, we're going to talk about inflation, David, and why the drop in inflation right now isn't actually a decent measure of where we are, even though the Bank of England are claiming a victory and saying that's higher interest rates feeding through.
Inflation is different for everybody. You know that.
Aye. But we also know the pressures.
The government has got the ability.
You know the pressures that are driving inflation. We've got corporate greed, we've got Brexit, and we've got the war in Ukraine. Now,
same thing. Not the war in Ukraine. Corporate greed and Brexit are hand in hand.
The war in Ukraine is just about to feed in because the pact between the UN and Russia to get grain out of Ukraine, which is one of the wheat fields of the world, has just broken down, and Russia has just destroyed 60,000 tons of the bloody stuff.
And also Putin has said that any boat that approaches the Ukraine will be treated as being hostile. Something as that. Okay, so we know fine well that yet again we're going to be going back to the grain production or grain worldwide. The problem with that, yes, that'll feed into worldwide inflation. However, the United Kingdom inflation is all about Brexit and profit and greed, corporate greed. Something like that.
Of course, David, when I was talking about when I was looking at the OBR's figures and the ONS's figures on halving inflation this year, I said no, that's not going to happen because commodity prices are going to go up where the barriers were put between ourselves and where we get commodities from. Throw in the outside pressures and the rest of the world, and that's why inflation now in the USA is at 3%, whereas here is at 7.9%. Now it's come down a good.
How much did it come down by, David?
It's come down by 0.8%. 0.8 of 1% has come down. But when we add in the factors and the checks and that are coming in, if they come in, then we will see commodity prices start to rocket, and we'll see that inflation rise again.
Yeah.
You know, that's the logic behind the figures that I did. Because there's supposed to be checks coming in on goods and some foods in October. And when I was doing the sums, I factored in October and January when all checks on foods coming in should have went into place. And I could see that commodity prices right across the board were going to rise because everything had to be checked coming in.
Yeah. Well, also, we've got the situation in England where I believe is it from today or is it from this weekend that all passports of every single person leaving the country has to be checked at the first port of travelling. So in other words, when you're going out the way, say you're going to France or whatever, your passport has to be checked in the UK and wherever it is in the UK you're leaving from.
And of course, David, as you know, that's led to a discussion between Ben Wallace and Suella Braverman.
Yep.
Because Ben said, no, we can't afford to give you more troops to man the border patrols.
Yeah. Yeah.
The troops have got other duties to carry out.
Yeah.
You know, and that's led to problems as well. And all these are inflationary factors.
Hmm.
You know, so yep, inflation's come down a wee bit, but don't say my prediction is actually higher than where it is at the moment for the end of the year. But that was because of these checks. Now, if these checks don't come in, of course, we know that the World Trade Organization is then going to step in.
Well, at the moment, we're still betwixt and between on that. From what I've been reading about the border force, is that the problem's not going away, but it looks like they're going to be told just to wave vehicles through.
And that, of course, is another concern when it comes to food security and health.
Yep.
I mean, we know that when they did the checks in April this year, 21 of the 22 vehicles they checked, specifically food vehicles, 21 of them had to be pounded because the food in the back of them wasn't fit for human consumption. What is making it onto our market shelves right now? None of us know. What we do know is David couldn't get a tomato a day, and when you can get fresh vegetables, they're rotten within 2 days.
Yes.
Because that's how long it's taken them to get across the borders. Whereas that used to be friction free.
The most important thing is that there is checks for disease. If you're worried about what checks on disease are, mentioned it on the last programme. Look up the Irish potato blight. That was where a disease on a plant came into the country, and then it effectively caused starvation of an entire country. It's ridiculous. So these checks do need carrying out.
Right, for the YouTubers out there, because a lot of people on Facebook will not know who Phil for different biases, but he's got quite a strong pro-Labour YouTube channel, and he's in denial that Sir Starmer is the second cheek of the same arse. You know?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put that one up. But
you will also notice.
Apparently, Maggie managed to get tomatoes a day, Davies. She said, "Get it up, yet."
You'll also notice that the packs where you're looking at a date, the best before date has gotten very, very short, and that's because of the transport of the goods.
And that's why they're moving to what they call the use-by date.
Yes. Use your nose. Use your nose. Seriously, use your eyes. Use your nose, and you can tell whether something is off. Right? My goodness me, I better meet this off. You certainly know if that's off. However, I have heard it said by a very, very good 2 Michelin chef saying that he actually had a steak hanging in the blooming cellar for like 3 months, and it was turning blue in bits before he actually scraped it and cooked it, and it was beautiful. There you go.
Hi, Davey. Phil is. I'm not going to talk Phil doing it. Does some magic work, but he has got a blind spot when it comes to Starmer. Right, David. It's about time to wind this one up. I think we've managed to cover quite a lot, and I hope it was entertaining. I hope it was informative. You know, but I've had a lot of fun doing it in this show. I've enjoyed this one.
Yes. I'll do the bit.
Aye, but mind to mention, we're almost at 1,500 subscribers, folks. Please, we only need 9 more to get to 1,500. Hit the subscribe button. If you're on Facebook, jump across to YouTube for 2 seconds. Hit the subscribe button. Right, go on with it, Mr. Million.
Hey, you're as bad as a bloody wife. Can't get a bird in the edgeways, right? Anyway, if you liked us, hit the like button, please. That does help, right? Subscribers, we're not after 9, we're after 9,000. I want 9,000 people to subscribe to this channel because it helps us when we get the advertising revenue from Google. And that 9,000 more subscribers would allow us to actually give more to the food banks, right? So we need that, right? Now, if you like us, we are the Two Davies, right? If you don't like us, we are the 77th Brigade, and I collect for them.
Nah, actually, David, we don't like us where there's a Sir Kid Starver Appreciation Society.
Whoever thought that up, that's good. That really is good.
I wish it was me, but it wasn't. I can claim Westminster as mine, but I can't claim anything else.
Anyway, we do need more subscribers, and if you're talking to somebody that wants a bit of a laugh at two old guys like us and chatting about things, then fine, put them on to us and get them to subscribe. Okay? I don't know which one's Jack and which one's Victor. I don't care.
Anyway, we'll be back. What day is this? Thursday?
Aye.
Right, we'll be back Monday at 2 o'clock. I don't know what we're going to talk about because the silly season starts tomorrow. But I'm sure we'll manage to dig something out, even if it's geopolitics. Nothing stops.
I've got a cracking idea, right? We'll, instead of telling people about the news, we'll become the news. Who's with that?
Well, we will be talking about the announcement at the Scottish Parliament on Saturday, which is supposed to change the game. You know, so we'll be looking out for that. I see it would come up in the questions a couple of times. I have got a fair idea what this is about. But whether present legislation trumps it or no is something I need to look into. I'll wait until I see the announcement on Saturday and then I'll look into it because that's a sensible thing to do.
Don't get your hopes up, then you won't be disappointed. Yes? Oh, Madam Director?
Yes, she's telling us to wind this one up, Davy boy.
Right, okay guys. Bye, Davy.
Bye, Davy. Madam Director has spoken.